Committee for coming. We got off the floor. We have been there since 4:30 and it's 7:31 and you guys are here. Thank you for your commitment and staff and dedication. We have voting list number 21. This is the Health and Government Operations Committee. A lot of these bills we have already heard and seen. So if you see that we go through it, it doesn't mean we don't care. All right. We just know them and have seen them before. We're going to start with the withdrawals. There's 3 of them. Is there a motion? Second. There's been a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns? All those in favor say aye. Thank you. Aye. Thank you. Any objection? None. They're withdrawing. I'm sorry, my mind is. House Bill 541 is the Delegate Gazzoni, Department of Commerce, nonprofit organization Navigator established. It is favorable with amendment Lindsay and Delegate Kerr.
As introduced, the bill establishes a nonprofit organizations navigator within the Department of Commerce. Among other duties, the navigator must represent and concerns of nonprofit organizations as a member of the Maryland Efficient Grant Application Council. The bill also repeals study, recommendation, and reporting requirements for the Mega Council related to the designation of a state grants ombudsperson. The bill specifies the intent of the General Assembly that the navigator position be filled by January 1st, 2026. The amendments on that begin on page 1 of your packet. This is actually a reprint of Senate Bill 365, so the amendments would conform the bill to that. Make the bill an emergency bill, establish the intent of the General Assembly that the navigator position be filled by July 1st, 2025, requires the Department of Commerce to report information to Senate Finance and HGO, and sunsets the bill after 2 years. This bill was in subcommittee earlier today, and we didn't vote it earlier because we were waiting to get appropriations approval for the $80,000 fiscal note.
We discussed this in subcommittee, obviously. We moved the amendments, and it did pass subcommittee, but it was not unanimous. So let me move the amendments.
All right. So you move the amendment? And then I will second? All right. Any discussion on the amendments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition on the amendment? Seeing none on the bill as amended? It's been moved in second. Any questions or discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Delegate Shilega, Delegate Morgan, Delegate Riley, Delegate Hutchinson, and Delegate Kipke. Thank you. We are going to go.
Can we just do Senate Bill 365 next?
Let's go to Senate Bill 365, which is the cross of this bill. And this is Lindsay and Kurt again.
What this bill does, there is an amendment. This is appears on page 2 in your packet. The Senate had added a provision that the navigator cannot provide services to a nonprofit that pays $250,000 to any single salaried employee. The subcommittee adopted an amendment to strike that provision.
Delegate Kerr.
This bill's in the same situation as its cross-file. Move the amendments.
Second. It's been moved in second. Any question or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Seeing none on the bill as amended?
Second.
The bill has been moved in second. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Delegate Shilega, Delegate Morgan, Delegate Riley, Delegate Hutchinson, and Delegate Kipke. But you don't have to do it for the record.
I understand.
Yeah. Although we have, you know, I was going to make a joke, but it's okay.
I just realized we didn't do co-sponsors on the House bill.
Oh. On the House bill, do people want to co-sponsor? Yeah. Who does not want to be co-sponsor? Raise your hand. Okay, party line. All right, thank you. All right. So we're going to do now, where were we? 738, Delegate Kaiser, Department of Information Technology Reporting Guidelines. Before we start with this bill, I want to say that a small group met and they worked so hard on this, and this was Delegate Kaiser, Delegate Hill, we have Delegate Kerr, We also have our wonderful analyst, Lindsay, who made herself available, even as she was driving one day. And the amazing Vicky. Thank you so much, Vicky Gruber from DLS, for being available, for having all those meetings, for working with the department, for making sure that, people came and compromised and worked on it. So with that being said, Lindsay, can you tell us what the bill does?
As introduced, this bill expanded the requirements for 2 annual reports prepared by the Department of Information Technology about the Information Technology Investment Fund and projects funded through the fund. The amendments adopted in subcommittee begin as a reprint in page 11 of your packet. The amendments require the Secretary of DeWitt to ensure that no funding is provided for the implementation of a major information technology development project, also known as an MITDP, unless the Secretary determines the unit has the internal capacity to adequately support the project, program management, and responsibility over program activities. The managing unit sends notice of project information to BPW and the LPC within 30 days of awarding a contract, and the unit agrees to report to DeWitt every 3 months on the project status. Requires the Secretary of DBM to withhold unexpended funds on the recommendation of the Secretary of DeWitt, and authorizes the Secretary of DBM to release funds, again at the direction of the Secretary of DeWitt. Within 30 days after funding is withheld, DeWitt must report on the purpose of the withholding to the Governor, General Assembly committees, and the Joint Committee on Cybersecurity, Information Technology, and Biotechnology. The Secretary of DeWitt may recommend that funding be withheld, that funding that is withheld be reallocated to other expenses of the Information Technology Investment Fund, and the Secretary of DBM may follow that recommendation. If reallocated funds exceed $500,000, the Secretary of DeWitt, in consultation with the Secretary of DBM, must submit a proposal to LPC for a 60-day review and comment period. The amendments repeal the Modernized Maryland Commission and instead requires DeWitt to develop standards for identifying legacy systems, adopt an information technology investment maturity model, and develop a state modernization plan. Those were commission responsibilities, and that must be done on or before July 1st, 2026. The amendments repeal the November 1st report from DeWitt on the Information Technology Investment Fund and alter the content of the January 15th report on the fund. The amendments require DeWitt to publish and maintain a publicly available project and portfolio dashboard on its website and sets requirements for the dashboard. The amendments require the CIO of a unit with a planned or ongoing MITDP to meet with the Secretary of DeWitt quarterly to report on and discuss the projects. The amendments establish the Office of Digital Experience to provide oversight, leadership, intervention, and strategic modernization for state IT projects and direct the development of modernized systems, establish the Maryland Digital Service Unit to collaborate with and assist units to support improved service delivery to state residents and agency staff, establishes the Major Information Technology Development Project Oversight Division in the office to adopt standards for MITDPs and expedited projects, monitor performance and provide expertise, support, and intervention, requires DGS in consultation with DeWitt to report twice annually beginning December 31st, 2025 to B&T and HGO on any projects over $1 million undertaken under a master contract for statewide Agile Resources and Teams contracts approved by BPW in fiscal year 2025, establishes the Information Technology Advisory Board to advise the LPC to serve as an expert advisory entity to the General Assembly and review any state reports or other available information regarding existing IT projects, repeals a requirement that the Joint Audit and Evaluation Committee, in consultation with the Joint Committee on Cybersecurity, Information Technology, and Biotechnology, study and make recommendations for changes necessary to address the findings of the OLA audit from April 2nd, 2024, authorizes the Secretary of DBM and Secretary of DeWitt, with the approval of the Governor, to meet the requirements of the bill, to transfer to the Maryland Office of Digital Experience up to $4.3 million in staff augmentation funds and up to 20% of the balance in the Information Technology Investment Fund, authorizes the Governor to transfer up to 50 positions to the Office of Digital Experience, requires DeWitt in fiscal 2026 to work with units to require one productivity suite and other opportunities for technology savings, establishes that no additional general funds beyond those appropriated in fiscal 2026 may be used to implement the act, and requires the Budget and Taxation and HGO committees to convene a work group to study additional items related to the bill.
Thank you so much. I want to get a little history of why this is needed, and I want to thank the department, DeWitt, and the secretary for working with us, and the other departments as well. I would like to allow Vicky, if I may, Delegate Kerr, with all due respect to you, to say a few sentences about why this bill is needed, and then we'll come back to you. Is that okay? Thank you. Vicky.
Sure. So with that, all I would say is this is an issue. It's been an issue for the state for decades. I'm going to age myself. I first worked on a bill in 2002 that finally created a special unit within DBM at the time to manage these projects because hundreds, well, at that time, tens of millions, now we're in hundreds of millions, of monies had been lost on projects that were not successful because the state was not good at managing these projects and the agencies didn't have the internal capacity. So a separate unit was established in 2002, and in 2008, DO-IT came to be as an independent agency. Fast forward 23 years later from 2002, or 22 years later, there was an audit. The Office of Legislative Audits released a report last year that found that yet again we were losing hundreds of millions of dollars on these IT projects and not getting what the expectation was, not getting the product delivery that the state had expected. In particular, over a 2-year period between the Department of Health and the Department of Human Resources, project overruns amounted to a bit over $1 billion over a 2-year period from what they were supposed to be. And so the bill is intended, and my work on it, sort of bridging my gap between the executive director and working with legislative audits, working with OPA and your talented staff, is hopefully to bring some accountability, make sure there's one, whether it's DO-IT or an agency accepts accountability, somebody needs to stand up and be accountable for the managing of these projects and these funds. And particularly, I know you guys have struggled so much this session with all the budget cuts and everything that you've had to deal with. And it's just not a time that you can afford to waste money on IT projects.
Delegate Kerr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Government operations had a very challenging session this year, so I want to be sure and thank the subcommittee for all of the time they put into these bills and all of the work. We put out some quality legislation this year, so thank all of you. And you did mention that this bill was a lot of work, and I can't take an equal credit for this. Delegate Kaiser was tenacious, Delegate Hill was insightful, Vicky was critically important, and Lindsay was brilliant.
I love the way you describe them. It's so beautiful.
And it really comes down to their work. So let me move their amendments.
Second. All right, and thank you for being so gracious. So the amendments have been moved, they've been second. Any questions or discussions on the amendments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, on the bill as amended?
Favorable, second.
The bill has been moved and second favorable. Any discussion or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, the bill passes. Thank you so much. Who does not want to be a sponsor? All right, everyone does. Okay, I think that was the last bill, right? I just want to, we are adjourning.
You got concurrence.
Oh, we have concurrences, sorry. Oh.
Thank you.
I want to thank everyone again for your hard work, okay? Vicky, thank you so much
Thank
on
you
behalf
all,
of the committee.
and hang in there.
Thank you. So we're going to start with House Bill 848. And this bill is titled Health Insurance Adverse Decision Notices, Reporting and Examinations. And the amendment require private review agents to post specific criteria and standards to be used in utilization review on the members and providers pages of its website. It clarified that the requirement to respond to voicemail or emails within 2 business days only applies if a shorter time period is not otherwise required, and it altered the effective date for certain provisions of the bill. These amendments make the bill identical to Senate Bill 474 as it passed the House. And we're going to move to concurred. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, we will concur. We are next on House Bill 869, Preserve Telehealth Access Act of 2025. The amendments authorize the prescription of Schedule II drugs through telehealth if there is an established practitioner-patient relationship in which there is an ongoing care and the practitioner or another practitioner in the group practice has previously conducted an in-person assessment of the patient. As amended, this bill is identical to Senate Bill 372 as it passed the House 131-0. Are there any questions? Any concerns? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition to the concurrence? Seeing none, we will concur. The last bill we have today is House Bill 970, Health Insurance, Insulin Prohibition on Step Therapy or Fail First Protocols. The amendment reinserts insulin analog into the provisions of the bill that prohibit step therapy or fail first protocols. And we're not concurring on that bill. It threw me off for a minute. All right, so the motion is not to concur. Is there any questions or concerns on why we're not concurring? Any questions? Delegate Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What is the difference in two bills?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead. Vice Chair Collison, yes.
Thank you. So insulin, we have a price cap on, right? I think it's $35. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
It's 35 bucks.
Right. And that's regular insulin. Analog insulin is a synthetic product that is significantly more expensive than regular insulin. If we were to include the analog varieties, then we would have to increase our payment to $290 per treatment, up from the $35. The analog drugs are relatively new, and they have not replaced insulin. Insulin is still, very viable. So I would agree not to concur.
So we're just not including the analog?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Just removing it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
It's a good question. Thank you. Any questions, any concerns about not concurring? We're all in agreement not to concur, correct? All those in favor of not
No.
Yes, please.
This is like a first for us, right? No, we did it before. We did it before, but we are, so that's how it's gonna come up as not concurring, okay? So all those in favor of not concurring, say aye. Aye. Any opposition to that? Seeing none, we will not concur, all right? And, what is it? And we're gonna suggest that the Senate recede, okay? You Delegate Ross, you have a question? Yes.
Back to them.
Yes.
Can they amend it further, or it just doesn't pass?
Go ahead.
They can either send it back to us, or else they can agree with our, the way that we have the version of the bill amended.
Yep. And if they don't agree, and we don't agree, the bill does not pass. All right? All right, thank you, everyone. We will go home. Everyone go home, get some sleep, get some rest, okay? Thank you for your hard work. And staff, thank you, and thank you.